100% right, every time. The McClaskey Excellence Institute brings you The Operations Experts, a podcast with hosts David McClaskey and Billy Schaefer. Delight your customers, reduce errors, and increase repeat business. Take your operations from ordinary to extraordinary. Hello, welcome to Operations Experts Podcast. I'm David McClaskey, president of McClaskey Excellence Institute.
And I'm Billy Schaefer, the vice president of the McClaskey Excellence Institute.
And today we have a wonderful leader on our podcast, Alex Nikitin of Salamander Equity Partners. He's the founder. Alex, welcome.
The show.
Hi, David. Hi, Billy. Great to be here. Thanks.
Can we start by, can you tell us about Salamander Equity Partners? What does it do? Who's its customers? What are your growth plans?
So I started this business more than 20 years ago when I was 21 years old. And we are in retail. We're in food service. We manufacture tequila. We're in the fintech and also building a hedge fund right now. We're based in Florida. A lot of our businesses are in Florida, but a lot of our businesses are international as well. We have directly employing about just over 100 people, and indirectly it's over 1,000 people. For example, for our tequila company, we control everything from the land to the bottle. So when it's harvest time, we employ the entire town to go out and harvest the agaves.
Oh, Alex, that's a wide range of things that you're into. How are you balancing all this?
Well, this is what I keep asking myself all the time. But one thing, couple of things I've really keep my focus on is family is a priority. Balance of life and work is a priority. I meditate regularly. I work out regularly. And you may be surprised to find out that I only work about 4 to 5 hours per day.
That is a surprise. You must have some pretty good systems to be able to do that.
Well, it was a long journey. Just to give a little of a backstory. So I've been to, David, your class back in 2023. I've been always looking to, early on in my business, in my career, I realized that I can't do everything by myself. You need to have systems and processes in place. And I've made some very costly mistakes along the way just because I didn't have those systems and processes in place at the time. Right. And I didn't even know I needed them. Right. But then I've spent a lot of money and I've learned the hard way. And since then, I started looking at, different systems, different programs, and how can I make it better? Not only for my sake, but also for the employees' sake as well. And that's when I stumbled upon David's class, and he came highly recommended from a good friend and a mentor of mine, Dan Rowe. I went through the class, and it was an eye-opening experience for me. It really blew my mind because these are all the questions that I've been struggling with for years. How do you build a culture of excellence, right? How do you standardize things? How do you make sure people are accountable, but not micromanaging people? So these are big questions I was struggling with for a very long time. And David really put it in very simple terms, actionable steps. This is the one thing about me. I like big ideas, but I also prefer actionable steps, just like all of us in business. At some point, we need to take action. And that better be, a granular approach, understanding all the nuances and minutiae of regular day-to-day mundane work. If you're not there, what's happening? And that, David, your class was amazing, blew my mind. And I've been a lot of takeaways, which I've been trying to implement in my business for a long time. Successfully and unsuccessfully. Since I have a team, I have partners, everybody were already skeptical about new approaches because we've tried a lot of different approaches and they failed. Yeah. So it took me a couple of years to bring my team around. And it, as you know, after COVID, there was a lot of money pumped into the economy. So all of the businesses, naturally, all of the revenue went up for pretty much every single business in this country. And people were saying, why change? I mean, we're making all this money without doing anything extra. I mean, we're already great. We're in great shape. We don't want to change. We don't want anything extra. We don't want anything new. And it took me a couple of years when things started settling down strategically. And everybody started realizing, okay, this is the new reality. The costs are up. The labor is up. Competition is more fierce and the sales are going down. So what do we do about this? How do we get better? And the answer was David McClaskey with his system.
Oh, Alex, we love to hear that.
Fantastic.
The system itself, we always talk about one of the differentiators of McClaskey and everything else is it's actually tactical. It's not a theoretical, not a hype session. No, we're going to put you to work. And I love that you all dove deep into that. One question we always want to ask the great operators that we have to deal with is, you have to plan, obviously. I mean, the whole idea is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And with all the businesses you have going on, which is just an incredible number, you have to do your strategic planning. So what's that one goal you got coming up that you're real excited about?
Well, I don't want to get into much detail about the growth plans and whatnot, but our strategic goal has always been and remains and it's been from the very beginning. We're still staying true to that. We need to deliver enormous value to the people that we're serving. This was always my number one. This is my kind of like a test for the investment, whether to go into the business or not. I'm looking at an opportunity and I'm trying to gauge whether I can deliver an actual tangible value to the people, to the community that we're serving. If the answer is yes, then we're going in and we're trying to make it better than everyone else. If not, then we don't bother. Even though the opportunity might be very, very good, we just say no.
That's incredible. I love that.
And I just love the way that you said it out. You have a great way with words. Well, we look for business that produces value to the people we're serving, actual tangible value. And then when we go into it, we need to make it better than the others that are serving that market. I think that is just such a great way to express this. This is the basics of business. And you're right. It is exactly what we're teaching in the Achieving World-Class Results class, is that how do you get your operations so it does exactly that? Provide the very best value and provide it your way. Now, have you had any issues with training or things of that nature?
Absolutely. It was a nightmare. When we started, it was a nightmare. I'd never had a formal business education. So obviously, I read some books here and there. I went to some classes here and there, and I've been, trial and error. We started with basically zero training and not even understanding how crucial the training is. And we went full circle all the way, to right now we understand that training is probably one of the most important. It's one of the pillars on which your company stands. It's crucial. You need to position your people for success. And it's not only crucial for performance, it's also crucial for culture. What is culture? When you're growing, you need culture.
Right.
That's perfect.
For example,
everybody needs to hear that about what you're talking about with training and exactly everything you just said. I know we take little parts of this podcast to make blurbs. That is going to be a key one that we're going to take from this is training is going to create that culture. I mean, that's just such a great example for everybody to listen to. And I hope everybody really keyed in on what he just said there. That was great.
I think
thank you.
it's really good because I know you think deeply about these things and have a lot of businesses to run. And so that means you've had a lot of operations hurdles. Can you talk about an operations hurdle you've had and how the Achieving World-Class Results class, what was taught there helped you overcome that hurdle?
Absolutely. So number one issue was bringing in the right people, hiring the right people, and understanding that not everyone is a fit for the organization. Your process really helped us zero in on how to gauge whether the person is the right person, whether the person is the right fit. And in the long run, it saved us a ton of money on training, on rehiring, and efficiency along the way. Training program and onboarding documents and all that stuff. This is really essential. And I've run some tests after I went through your class. I've run some tests with different departments, different employees, and some people were onboarded as per what you teach, and the others were onboarded just the way we did it, the old-fashioned way. The difference was night and day. It was 100% performance difference. People who were onboarded as per your David program, they performed significantly, not just slightly, significantly better. It was like a totally different person. And it cost us exactly the same amount of money. They worked exactly the same schedules, but they were so much more motivated. They were way more focused. They were more organized. And I talked to them and they actually experienced less stress too.
It's incredible. It's amazing how different it is before and after those systems are in place, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, that is just fantastic.
Thank you.
So what, you obviously took the class and you did very well with it. Is there anything that really stuck out? One or two pieces or nuggets of information that really stuck with you from the class?
So the one fundamental difference that I actually came to realize is about a year later after I took the class. And that's when I went to Harvard. I'm at Harvard Business School right now for an owner-president management program. And they essentially teach the same thing, but they charge a lot more money for it. But the fundamental difference, though, is they give you like a strategic, deep, and like long horizon perspective on things. And they do not give you the practical step-by-step implementation. So you get out of Harvard and you're like, wow, I love these big ideas. You bring them to your team. They're like, this is great. Now, how do we actually do this? And this is where the problem is. They don't give you actual step-by-step processes, systems, how to implement it in your particular business and best practices, right? So you either go and figure it out by yourself and spend a ton of money doing that, or you go and talk with David, take his class. And that's exactly how he is different from Harvard. Harvard is the high level. David is very granular, integrating that information into everyday steps and processes, not to stress out the employees, not to disrupt operations. And slowly but surely, you're boiling that frog until it's done.
Oh, wow. I mean, that is so fantastic to hear and such a great perspective. It's you're in that unique position where you can compare an executive level Harvard program to the Achieving World Class Results. Thank you for that wonderful comparison and perspective on that. That is just fantastic. I want to pause here and let everyone know that everything you're hearing now is taught in our Achieving World Class Results class. We would love to have you and your team in the class so we can help you reduce errors and increase repeat business. The class will enable you to take your operations from ordinary to extraordinary. Sign up now at McClaskeyExcellence.com/AWCR. Now, I know you've been using this, and we talk about getting processes to 100% operations excellence. Can you talk about a process that you've gotten to 100% operations excellence?
Sure. For our restaurants and our retail stores, we got the greeting down, the process, the greeting process, and the checkout process down. And I can already, we just recently did this, and I can already tell by gauging the performance. Our sales went up about 15% in the locations where we did it. Our employees are more confident. They're actually having more fun. They're having more fun greeting people, and they're kind of challenging each other to do it faster than the other. And it just became an overall more positive environment, and people are more playful. And so far, so good.
That's incredible.
Oh, wow.
How did they respond in the beginning when you were trying to implement all these changes? I know they're having fun now. How was it when you first started to implement?
To be honest with you, I was afraid more than them. I was afraid they would not take it the right way. People would get upset. But then when you actually explain to them that I think the very strong tool that David taught me was using key customer requirements. And this is when you explain to people, okay, this is what the customers expect from us when they visit our business. And once you explain that to them, then your employees understand I'm not just, doing this for the sake of doing this. I'm actually delivering value to the person that's standing in front of me. And that's very powerful.
That's incredible. Now that we talked about the employees there, how about the leadership? The managers, the supervisors, how was it with them in implementing these? Like, was there any challenges with getting your leadership on board and implementing these processes?
Well, naturally. I would be lying if I said no. Of course there were. It took more patience and education on my part, and trying to digest the system and trying to digest the steps, and kind of asking them to take a leap of faith and do a small step and see if it works or not. And they could always revert back to the old ways if it didn't work. So it was really holding their hand and being with them like every step of the way, and just being more patient, and education, and a little bit of love.
Wow, that sounds like a great approach. Anything else? Can you tell us about how getting your managers on board, getting that to effectively happen, and any challenges you might have had in doing that?
The main challenge was skepticism. People are skeptical of the new things. And I am that type of guy who always brings the new ideas and the new things to the company. And cost of bringing the new things and the ideas, some ideas are not so good. So they thought it was one of those ideas. But, it really took me some convincing, but also some people naturally understand it. Some people who are natural managers who have this talent, you don't need to explain, a lot to them. They just get it right away. They get it. And some of them even told me that we were doing kind of the same thing on our own without telling you, because we didn't know how you would take it.
So they were ahead of you and wondering how you'd feel about it, and you're ahead of them wondering how they're going to feel about it.
Exactly.
Same.
They were not obviously as structured and systematic as David, your approach, but they kind of intuitively sensed that this needs to be done for their people to be successful, for their teams to be successful.
Excellent. So it fits in where they would naturally think things had to happen.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a great perspective. Now, I know on the podcast, we always like to let our guests you have a question you'd like to ask either Billy or I. Do you have a question, an operations related question you'd like to ask us?
Absolutely.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me at all. Yes.
I would like to hear a little bit about the best practices for implementation and integration of your system into daily processes.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've done this with quite a few people, and it's the implementation part is you got two parts of it that you really have to focus on. Is one, and this is what most people are really good at, is they get all the data, all the knowledge, they write it all down, and then they make it really complex. And it's, I always say, you're writing it for your British literature degree that you got in college instead of for the people actually doing the process. So everybody's really good at collecting all this knowledge, but then they forget that the whole point is to communicate to the team. So you have to write it in a way that's simple and effective. And when people learn how to write simply, as opposed to look at all these big 50-cent words that I have in here, the team actually starts looking at it and you're like, wow, I can actually do this. Because the second they have to look up a word in the dictionary to figure out what you're talking about, they're not going to do any part of the process and they're done. They're walking away. And that is one of the main problems I'm finding right now with people who are writing processes. And they're like, I just can't get the team to follow it. And I was like, well, let's take all the 7-syllable words down to 2 syllables and we might have a shot. So that's one little technique that I'm working with a lot of people on right now.
And then to kind of build on that, once you've got the processes written in a precise but very simple, doable way, the idea of implementing one process at a time. People try to implement way too much, and even the best teams, you change too much too fast, and you just overwhelm the ability to change, and you certainly overwhelm the ability to maintain. So the idea of saying, okay, so we have 20 or 30 processes, our operations are doing okay, so let's get one to 100%. And then let's get it maintained to 100%, which is even harder. And then we'll pick the next one and we'll do that. And as long as we're maintaining them, we find in 9 to a year and a half to 2 years, you get every process and you do it in a way that actually works.
Thank you so much. This is great advice. And looking back, these are the things that I've kind of struggled with too. So
oh yeah, it's a very
thank you
common
for
thing.
sharing that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the great question.
I mean, we love that question. Now, one of my favorite to ask is to all our guests is, what's the biggest operations challenge you have going on right now? What's the struggle in operations?
Struggle with operations. I wouldn't say it's a struggle, but we're always working on building a great culture and making it more robust. At some point, I asked myself, what is culture? And I've had this great advice from one of the Harvard professors. Culture is what happens when nobody's looking.
Okay.
And this is what we're constantly working on, building that culture that people make the right choices when nobody's looking.
It's similar to the when no one's looking. I really like how he said that. Is one of my favorite ways to talk about culture is stop looking for it and start listening for it, because it's found more in the words that are used than what you're seeing. And that's really how you can you hear culture, you don't see culture. And I always love that. So I love the fact that he's like, that's such a cool way to integrate those two thoughts. Very interesting.
Wow. And now, I'm coming away with 2 really big quotes that you've really captured the essence of the knowledge we teach in the Achieving World-Class Results, but you've really said it so well. The first one was, I'm looking for businesses that deliver value to the people they're serving, real tangible value. And then what I'm going to do is make it better than my competitors. Exactly. And then, what is culture? It's what people do when nobody's looking. Because I think that's because most of the time nobody's looking. No management, to be quite obviously there's somebody looking, but no management's looking. And I think that's a great way to describe it. It's we used to say it's what happens when the managers are on their day off or vacation. Because if it's not working, then you're not going to be anywhere near 100%. So I think that's another tremendous Alex quote. So really appreciate the way you phrase things. Now, I know with all you've got to do and the different constraints, what is your best advice related to how do how do you prioritize your limited time so you can maximize your time on helping your companies create this culture?
So you need to have the right people around you. It's crucial.
Mhm.
Even if you don't have all the processes to 100%, but if you have the right people around you with
Mhm.
the right mindset, who understand what you're trying to do and where you're going,
Right?
to me, this is the key. They will help you build it. You don't have to do everything by yourself.
Mm.
You need to surround yourself with great people. Show them the big goal where you're going to,
Right?
and they will help you get there.
Every single person who listens to this right now can resonate with that. That's such great thoughts, Alex. That's wonderful. Everybody listening right now felt that. That's incredible.
Okay. And Alex, I know you do a lot of reading, a lot of research, attend some of the top classes. Who's your favorite operations expert or thought leader at this time?
So right now it's Professor Ryan Bonnell of Harvard. I
Wow.
was in his class for operational excellence, and this is exactly what he teaches. We did a lot of case studies on the best hotels of the world.
Oh, wow.
We did a case study on Sam's Club, how they turned it around. We did a ton of different companies, service oriented companies,
Hmm.
um, Ritz Carlton, a bunch of big names.
Hmm.
And this is basically the essence of David, your system.
Right.
He
Oh,
puts it in very big ideas and um, like long-term perspective. Unfortunately, he didn't give me a lot of practical application, but he's an amazing deep thinker in the field.
hmm.
And also Professor Zeynep Tan. She was his research partner in some of the cases. She's with MIT Sloan.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
Amazing, just deep knowledge. And they've researched a ton of companies all over the world, not only American companies, Asian companies, European companies, how they achieve operational excellence.
Right.
And it's always the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the same answer. It's the people, it's the processes, it's the training and support, it's the culture, it's the mission. I wish I could learn anything different, but unfortunately, it's all the same thing.
That's,
Definitely
I am
is.
so
Or
glad.
maybe fortunately, it's all the same thing.
And to have that kind of perspective is so fantastic because that's exactly right. That's why the same advice, the same general principles doesn't matter what kind of company you are. You've got to solve the problems your way, but these are the problems you have to solve, and here are the best known practices that can get you 80% of your solution. And so it's so fantastic that you can see that pattern.
That balance is so key to what you're talking about. I mean, what you're getting is that real high level strategic stuff at Harvard, and the actual granular implementation that we teach along with the strategy. And that's everything. That is the balance of operational excellence. Love hearing that.
This has been such a delightful conversation, Alex. Thank you. And it's always great to hear the wisdom that you have from your perspectives of your education and operating so many business. And thank you for sharing it with us and our listeners. And we very, very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. David and Billy, you guys are doing an amazing work, changing this world for the better. So it's always my pleasure to be here to talk to you, support you in any way. Extremely grateful to learn from both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. And hey, to everybody listening, just know the new episodes coming out. They're going to drop on the first and third Monday of every month, and check them out soon. Operations Experts was created by McClaskey Excellence Institute. Hosts were David McClaskey, president of McClaskey Excellence Institute, and Billy Schaefer, vice president of McClaskey Excellence Institute. The podcast was produced and edited by Kate Craig of Kate Craig Consulting. New episodes drop the first and third Monday of every month on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music. Find us online at McClaskeyExcellence.com and register for our Achieving World-Class Results course to enable your organization to deliver exactly what you promised every time using extraordinary operations.